Hey guys, welcome to Sippin' and Spillin' with Sid from 3 Mississippi. How are you guys doing today? I hope you're having a happy Monday. Uh, it's Sunday here for me right now. We just got back from Sunday lunch and church and all that, and we processed a bunch of ducks yesterday and got that done. So we got to kind of finish processing them out in the next day or so. He's going to start a cure on some of those duck breasts, and we're going to make some broth. And we actually, kind of funny, we were talking about it because, normally we do it on the stove, and it takes a couple days to really do it the way we like to do it, and then you got to can it on the stove and all that. But I have one of those big giant roasting pots that you can like do a turkey in or whatever. And last year we had an event at the church that where everybody brings in a bunch of soup, and I made a big roaster pot full of my semi-famous chicken soup, which is a tweaked version of my mother's recipe, which is all from scratch with use the chicken to make the stock and the whole 9 yards, right, as you make the soup. Anyway, um, he was saying, oh man, we could just use that, throw all the duck carcasses in there and set it at a certain temperature, and we can monitor it in that roaster. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. Why have we not thought of that before? Especially because of the we had a gas range at our old house, and here we have the electric flat ceramic situation, which I have mixed feelings about. I much prefer a gas stove if given the choice. But compared to like the electric range that with the coils, I much prefer this. And it does heat up fast, and all those things. But when you're cooking for long periods of time or in large pots, uh, it will actually get hot underneath the stove, and there's drawers there. So, like one time, Mike had a really oversized pot over the whole thing, doing a big batch of sauce. And he actually started to melt the spice rack that was underneath it, which we did because I walked in the house. I had been out running errands. He'd been home the whole time and didn't notice the smell. I walked in the house and I go, why does it smell like burning plastic in here? What happened? And he's like, nothing. And I'm like, you don't smell that? And he's like, no. And I'm like walking around the kitchen, and I open up the drawer, and like half my spices have melted in the cupboard that's like right underneath the thing, which is a handy drawer when you're cooking, that it's right there. But you have to be mindful of the fact that if you have something hanging over the edge of the burner, it heats the rest of that ceramic top. So anyway, uh, lesson learned on that one. So using the roaster to be able to still use a giant pot and not have to split it over a couple of pots and different burners, I think that's going to be really slick. So we're going to try that, which also mean like kind of less babysitting of it, because it's not going to like boil over and things like that. Um, Not that you usually have that pot filled up enough to do that, but just nice to kind of have it contained with the lid and all that. So we stopped and grabbed some more ice so that we can keep the cooler nice and cool while those ducks are sort of settling down. Um, and we came home, and we took the inside dogs out to go potty, and we were out back talking while we were putting ice in the cooler and everything. And I said, I'm gonna go grab Kusi and let him come out and run around with the girls, because they come up and love on each other through the fence a lot, and he plays with the goats, but he hasn't, since Nash has been gone, he hasn't had anybody to play with that's another dog. So I went over there, and the girls, it was like they knew what I was doing, which was kind of funny. The girls followed me over there, and I took Kusi out, and they all started playing. And but then it was real good after a few minutes of them playing and everything. I said, okay, let's go. And he listened right away and followed me back. And I made him do his routine on the way back to the goat pen, where I follow, hold, make him wait, made him sit, made him follow again. And then I opened up the gate, and he went right back in like a good boy. So he's I'm really pleased with his progress as far as his training goes. Mike was like, well, he's not listening to me. And I'm like, well, but you haven't been working with him, and I have. So there's a little bit of that. And plus, I think some of the commands he was using were a little different than the way that I taught him. So, so yeah, he's not listening. but but that's okay. I mean, he's still in that puppy, that awkward, not all my limbs do what I want them to do when I want them to do it phase. He's still kind of got that awkwardness about him, that floppiness. But he's a good boy. So had had fun watching them play, and I was impressed with how well, when I said, okay, it's time to go back in, he, okay, we're gonna go. He didn't fight me or drag his heels or anything like that. So that was good. And I know we have a couple things that we want to get done around here today. I do have some filming that I need to do, of a couple things uh, for the next week or so that I need to start accumulating for some videos, and some things that we want to get done. I do want to actually, at some point, eventually, I want to build out like a 15 by 15 or a 20 by 20, something like that, size little pen area in Beulah's pasture for, kind of pulling her into, for like, and I'll have her water trough and stuff in there. I'll have it open. But I was talking to Will after church, who had come over and helped with, uh, kind of going over some basics with Beulah for lunging. And I was explaining to him that, some of the things that we've run into with her, as far as, she goes through these periods of, uh, we'll just call it attitude. We'll just call it attitude, where she will come up to you wanting affection, and then you give it to her, and then she'll get a little cranky, and she might try to nip at you. And so it's a kind of head scratcher, because it's like, you came over to me, and now you're throwing shade. So he had some suggestions about kind of changing her routine from what we do now, just to give her this designated spot for some of that stuff, which we kind of already do, because of where her trough is. That's kind of where we generally call her to, or bring her to lead her out. Um, Comes Mr. Bunko. Let's see if he comes over here. But anyway, so I might talk to Mike about maybe trying to build something in there, and kind of get that done, so we can sort of start building that routine with her, um, so that we can maybe at least ease her through some of that mare tendency that she might have to. I know, I see you. I know you're trying to get up. Go ahead. Of occasionally having those little crankinesses that she gets, even when she's come over to you. Um, so, they're going to do what they're going to do. Animals are going to do what animals are going to do. In fact, when we were out there, Bunko was coming up out of the pasture while we were out there with the dogs, and I spotted him, and I go, "Hey, Bunk, come here!" And he comes running over, and they're both laughing, because they're like, "Have you ever seen a cat that just comes running across a pasture when you call its name?" And I'm like, "This one does." And so I scooped him up, and I was loving on him, and then Frankie goes, "I want him," and so I gave him to her. Well, he of course goes limp in her arms and was giving her a hug, and Lundy came over, kind of out of his vision, and then her nose just appeared, and he got scared, and he like hissed and freaked out and scrambled away and scratched Frankie pretty good. So we just had to cover her in iodine and antibiotic, because Mike's paranoid about that stuff. So he just kind of cleaned her up. I was like, "Go get the vet mech stuff out of the thing, spray on her." That's what I use. Those of you that have animals, you know what I'm talking about. Half the time I don't have the people antiseptics and whatever, but I have the animal one. So I just end up using that on myself. Gets the job done. Uh, use what you got, right? So anyway, so he just got finished taking care of her, but it's so nice. I did put the Christmas lights up the other day. Um, so in fact, I'll walk you guys out there in a second and show you, because the timer's not on right now. So it's, mid-afternoon, and they're already on, because as I was stringing up the lights, I had them on, and then I never reset the timer that evening. So the last couple days since I put them up, they've been coming on in the afternoon, and then they turn off at like 6 o'clock, I think. I keep forgetting to come back out and switch them, so I need to do that. And in fact, no way. She had a little. I noticed when I got her back from the vet, and I don't think I told you guys this, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. She had like a little, like a, like an old scab, basically on her flank, and I had been kind of keeping an eye on it, but I was like, what is that? It was like a scab, but it was like almost like something, like almost like food had spilled in her fur and gotten stuck. And I had tried to kind of like feel around it, and it seemed like it was like either an old scab that was coming off, or like she had gotten something on her that wasn't coming out of her fur. I had checked it a few times, didn't notice anything weird about it. The other day when I was holding her, it felt funny. And so I like, now that she's gotten more used to me, I can mess with her more. So I was looking at it and I was touching it, and not to be gross, but like I kind of like looked at it and I could see that the scab was coming off and like a bunch of like pus came out. And I was like, ooh, so I started investigating it, and she had like a little what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Nope. It just the word went out of my head. Don't you love that? Yeah. But anyway, so I was kind of getting the rest of the infection out essentially and cleaning it, and then I put some of that, the vet stuff on it, and now it's fine. A couple days later, I did that a few times, spraying it down, and now it's scabbed over like normally. Whereas before, the scab was weird, but I couldn't figure out like what it was weird looking. I don't know how to describe it, and it wasn't like puffy or tender or anything like that. So, but now she seems fine, and so I figure, we've been taking her out every day, and having her out here with us, or with me, really. But she's super friendly and super loving, and she's a good girl, and they're getting used to each other. Um, he's still not her biggest fan at the moment, but I think part of that is due to the fact that she's like in his territory, and he's not allowed in there right now because she's locked in it, and that's normally where his food and his thing is in there, but now she's in there with it, so his is up here, and he's kind of like, whatever. But I did have to move his food because I had it over on the coffee table over here, and Rika was bringing Freebird over, and they were getting free meals over here from cat food. So I had to move it up here, and he hadn't figured out that I moved it up there, because I'm sure, I mean, that he could get up there and eat it if he wanted to, but he hadn't figured out how to do it. So at least we have that going. But anyway, I'm gonna show you guys. I'll walk you guys out here real quick. If I can close up my tripod here. There we go. So you guys can see my lights. If I can get far enough out. It's kind of bright though right now still, so maybe you can't see, but I've got them all along the edge there. I have them wrapped around the front door under the porch, and then I have them all along my windowsill here on the outside. So at night it looks really pretty. Oh, my thing fell over. My other solar light. That ground's really hard though right now, so that's part of the problem. But try to get that in there. But yeah, I'm gonna have to re-stake that in there. We did get some rain, but not enough to soften the ground enough. There we go. I found a soft spot right there. I got Bunko, of course, following me over here. But I got my tree up and decorated. I'll show you guys from the outside. But you can see I don't have the lights on right now, but I got it all decorated in there. So I'm all ready for the season. I've got my lights up. I've got my tree up. I'm good to go. So I'm a happy camper, and I think we might be getting some more cold and rain this week. Made a lot of soups this week, and I think tonight I'm going to make a lasagna. But you can tell it's fall when all my hostas are going away, and I'm starting to get the oak leaves blown in here. My wandering Jude is still kicking. Made it through that first frost, but we'll see. I did bring in my hanging ones already. I remembered this year. Last year I forgot, and I killed a bunch of my hanging plants out here. But that's all right. Live and learn, right? So anyway, guys, I hope you're having an amazing beginning to your week here. We're entering into the holiday season, so hopefully you're finding time to be with your family and your friends, and you're maybe finding some time to help others and do some good in your community if you're able to, because that's what this season is kind of remembering all of our blessings and passing that along to others if we're able to. So anyway, guys, I hope you're having a very blessed day, and as always, safety's off.